Hello, everyone. Welcome to the scientific segment of today's Fraser Heights News, where we discuss GMOs. Genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, are organisms, animals, plants, microorganisms, etc., that are genetically engineered so that they have desirable traits that prove useful to humans. For instance, scientists genetically engineer corn genes for them to be resistant to herbicide. But not everyone agrees with GMOs because they think that it is very unnatural to genetically engineer their food. Thus, their food no longer remains organic. It is also stated that people who consume GMOs after a long period of time will be allergic to non GMOs. In order to confirm these theories, we will be talking with a random stranger on the street, an against expert, and a for expert. We will start with a stranger. Hello, sir. If you don't mind, do you have some time to answer a few questions?
Sure, what kind of questions?
A few questions about what you think about GMOs in general.
Oh, I don't really like GMOs because it's like having our food grown in the lab. I don't like the sound of eating stuff that is being tempered with chemicals and stuff. I think it will have a lot of problems with our health if we keep eating it.
I see. Could I ask why you think it might be unhealthy to consume GMO foods?
Well, we don't know what could be in the foods, right? Like maybe a tomato has parts of a fish in it. That sounds gross and unnatural.
I see. Do you have any other concerns about GMOs in general?
Well, GMOs are probably bad for the environment, right? Probably like using pesticides and fertilizers. I don't think it will be good for the plants and we will have a harder time in the future.
Thank you for your input. Uh, what's your name, sir?
Paul.
Nice to meet you. Hello, expert Alex. Could you tell us a little bit about what you think about GMOs?
Oh, I can tell you more than just a bit. You see, GMOs are the worst.
Okay then, why do you think so, expert Alex?
Well, you see, I've been reading some information from Yahoo Answers and Answers.com. And through my extensive research, I have concluded that GMOs can cause health problems such as allergies for the consumers. Just think about it. Modern day genetic modification uses bacterial and viruses to select the genes that you want. Do you want that in your foods?
I see. What do you think should be happening to the GMOs, expert Alex?
GMOs should not be used because the changes could be unpredictable, so we should use conventional breeding, which is far more reliable, right? Because it's been used for many years. Why wouldn't it be more reliable than specific genes? I think GMOs should definitely be banned.
Fair points, expert Alex. Is there anything you would like to add?
I think I stated everything you should know. GMOs are bad and should be banned.
Thank you, expert Alex. Thank you for your input. Nice interviewing you. Hello, Jason. Could you provide us with a little history behind the creation of GMOs? Also, in what way do you think GMO has impacted human development thus far?
So basically, in 1972 and 1973, U.S. biochemists Herbert Boyer and Stanley Cohen developed a technique that allowed them to cut pieces of DNA of other organisms and include them in others that aren't related. So how this affected human development is that once it first started, it was actually quite difficult to do this process and expensive, and it was much more controversial than it is at the time. However, today, 88% of the corn produced in the US, which most of our corn comes from the US, is genetically modified. Other vegetables such as tomato, for example, are modified with a fish gene in order to extend its shelf life for up to 2 times. So in conclusion, we have developed genetic modification much farther than what we have had from 1972, and it is very worth investing into further.
Could you tell us why people are afraid of GMOs? What do you think is the number one concern that people have regarding GMOs? How is it different from conventional breeding?
So I think majority of the people that are concerned about GMOs actually don't know what GMOs really are, and genetic modification is a subject that not everyone's educated with. So the factor of not knowing what it is contributes a lot to its concern for people. And those who actually has done research about it are mainly concerned about such things as allergens that can occur from the genetic modification. However, Harvard University actually stated that there is no conclusive evidence that supports this, and can actually sometimes help reduce the allergens within the foods.
Okay, Jason. So where do you think the industry is heading, say, in the next few decades?
So, what I believe is that since already a majority of the corn in the U.S. is genetically modified, more and more will become genetically modified, helping to reduce the pesticide use as well as the overall fertilizer, which will help reduce waste in farming, and it will help create more efficient farming strategies as we develop further and further, which will help combat world hunger, and overall it will just help the world solve its issues that we currently have because of food.
Could you tell us why people are afraid of GMOs? What do you think is the number one concern that people have regarding GMOs? How is it different from conventional breeding?
So, from what I've been hearing, I believe that many of the concerns about GMOs were actually from not knowing what GMOs really are. And most of the concerns I've been hearing about is like certain things like allergies and how it affects health. And people need to understand that GMOs are simply organisms that are being altered in their genes. So that would mean that, for example, in conventional breeding, people will try to attempt to randomly select certain genes from a smaller amount of gene pool. So, for example, a hybrid between a poodle and whatever, they would only limit it to a poodle and whatever they want, right? So GMOs really are essentially the same thing, except that you are editing the genes step by step, so you can get the most precise results possible. And I believe that the number one concern that I've been hearing about in GMOs is how it affects our health as well as the environment.
Thank you for your input, expert Jason. There you have it, folks. GMOs are perfectly healthy and normal to eat. Thank you for watching the news. See you soon.